You're listening to the Co-Creator Network. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Hey, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor with another edition of Move into the Magic. And my guest today is one of my favorite people on this planet. In fact, she's one of the people I turn to give me information on my latest book, Earthbound. Her name is Aleya Dao, and some of you know her. You've listened to her on the air, and you're familiar with her angelic quality. Aleya Dao is a sound healer and energy practitioner. She has a bachelor's from Lewis and Clark College and a master's in Oriental Medicine from the Southwest Acupuncture College in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She is a licensed acupuncturist in Colorado and a minister in the state of California. And she's been an alternative practitioner for 20 years. Now, what makes Aleya unique is her ability to hear the angelic realm and reproduce their sounds with her voice. Her musical performances move people into states of higher consciousness. They give them a deep connection and awaken within them a place where they once again feel at home. And you know how we all are longing to feel at home. Aleya brings forth new healing tones, sacred chants, and a language of light that moves through her and out to you. And perhaps we can invite her to do some of that today on the air. When you listen to Aleya, you're going to find that the inner flame of your soul will be ignited and rekindled. Some of you are familiar with her daily Cups of Consciousness, which are 7-minute audio meditations, and they're delivered through the email to subscribers every weekday morning. Each meditation is exquisite, it's timely, and it's timeless. And it will help you release blocks, increase clarity, and really help you find a deeper purpose. So you can see why she is one of my favorite people. Aleya, welcome once again to Move into the Magic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
Now, I would like to just back up just a little bit, because what I've read is your bio, and the truth is a person's bio can't even begin to describe them. What I'd love you to do, if you would, is to set the stage by telling us a little bit about the awakening experience you had back in 2001. I can't believe it was in 2001, and how sound was a key player in that experience.
Well, in 2001, I was lying on a sound table, which is like a massage table filled with water, and there were speakers underneath it, and music is literally flowing through those speakers, through the water, and the whole body gets this like music massage. And in that session, I had what I call an enlightenment experience. And I think that that's starting to happen more and more for people. They might even be like walking down the street or in the middle of the night in a dream, or they're in a session getting a massage or having an acupuncture session. And the container is on the planet right now is kind of ripe for the shift in consciousness. And so in 2001, when I was on that table, literally my entire consciousness shifted within 30 seconds. Awareness of previous incarnations, awareness of other realms, being able to hear other guides, to hear the guides, the beings in the higher realms, to even hear other people's thoughts, their feelings, experience what was going on in their body as I was empathically feeling it in mine. And so after that 30-second shift in consciousness, I was forced to come up with what I call energetic protocols, ways of being able to maintain my sanity, my connection, my awareness of this heightened state. And let it be an asset for me as opposed to a deficit. And I think that the greatest challenge is that people are going through these enlightenment experiences. They're getting incredibly empathically sensitive. They're feeling other people's stuff. Their psychic abilities are coming online, and they don't know how to handle it. And so my whole angle from that enlightenment experience was we're all going through it in our own unique way, and giving people the tools to help them experience the process, not from a place of fear. You know, I had angelic beings standing around me for pretty much 24/7 for the first 3 years, and they were doing what I call psychic energy work, brain recalibration, and I would literally feel tugging in the left frontal lobe and or the left temporal lobe, and my guides would say, "Don't worry about it, Aleya, we're recalibrating such and such centers," and I would have to just move into a place of stillness. And had I not had that awareness, I think that I would have thought that I was going crazy because I felt all this tugging going on in my brain or organs. And it was literally a whole rewiring that occurred in order for me to hold a higher level of consciousness in the biology. And with the awareness of the guides, it was like a framework to support me. And I realized that a lot of people don't have that framework. So that's a little short snippet of what kind of experience I had in 2001. And it's different for everybody. And I, obviously can't tell the entire story in an hour period, but hopefully that will help people give them a little bit of a framework for what might be happening for them and what happened to me.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. And I'm so glad you're sharing that. What occurred to me as you were talking, Aleya, was my thought, being a Gemini, I'm always laughing. And I thought, I really want to know how she felt the minute she got off that table. How did she function from then on? How did you feel when you got off the table?
Very different than when I had gotten on. And there was that with that full shift in consciousness, I was actually, for the first few years, embodied more of a masculine energy, so very practical, kind of simply following instructions. I felt a little bit almost like you just get off a ship on new land and you're just following the instruction manual. And fortunately, my guides were like right there, and I could hear them and feel them and see them. And so it was really just following the instructions. And so at an emotional level, there was disorientation, but I kind of had that on pause as I was just fully integrating in, and went and had a massage right after that, and would meditate for 6 hours a day, and was very, very sensitive. I remember the first 3 months after the enlightenment experience, I could only wear white, and very specific kinds of textures. My taste for particular foods totally changed. My personality shifted as well. And so there's two kinds of enlightenment experiences that I'll speak to today. There's many different kinds of enlightenment experiences, and I think of it more as every single breath we take is an enlightenment experience. And when we come into that place of truly remembering who we are, that too is an enlightenment experience. And what people are experiencing these days, and at least what I've seen, is what's called a higher dimensional merge, where you are literally some other part of you that's more evolved, that has a greater perception of connection, of that oneness, is being infused into our bodies and into our energetic fields. And then there's another phenomenon that I speak about, and other people speak about it. It's called the walk-in, where literally one soul comes into the body and another soul leaves the body, or there have been incidences where there are two souls inhabiting the same body for a period of time, and there might be a highly evolved soul that's kind of coming in and holding vigil with this other soul and helping it kind of look at things from a different perspective. And then that soul, once it's done its work that has a very, very high vibration, will leave once it's helped the other soul, and that previous soul, that the original tenant, will stay in. And so with walk-ins, there can be a lot of different combinations. And the greatest challenge that I've seen with walk-ins is they will not fully allow themselves to anchor into the body. It's like they don't even know where their saddle is, where their seatbelt is, and there might be some resistance. There might be some arrogance of like, oh, you need to tell me I have to get in this thing. And that teeny bit of arrogance or that resistance prevents the soul from fully anchoring in, the other soul fully leaving, and then working with the body and that body biology and all the belief systems of literally this nature spirit that we're incarnating in, and how to work those two programs in a simultaneous way. And so there can be a ton of variables on the theme of the higher dimensional merge and the walk-in, and it just depends on the contract of the individual. That was a long answer, huh, Maxine?
Oh, I love that. You just talk as long as you want. I'm fascinated, as you know, by all of this information. I hunger for it. And I'm not alone. My listeners want to hear this information too, because as you said, we're experiencing so much on so many different levels. We are all, if we welcomed it, if we are open to it, shifting. And astrologically right now with Uranus and Pluto squaring each other till at least probably 2015, it is such a shock, some of these shifts, because they happen so quickly. They happen so extraordinarily. And what I have observed, and I'd love you to say anything that you like on this, I've observed it and I've experienced it, is that there is a confusion going on in many people. They are being lifted to higher and higher vibratory rates. They're feeling more loving. They're more compassionate. They're more accepting. They're more understanding. And at the same time, their physical body is not functioning correctly. They're having all of these physical symptoms that they don't understand. And it's almost as if they're living in two worlds at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about with that?
I totally do. And what I think is happening is that if we look at it more from the perspective of, imagine riding a horse. So I am the rider of the horse. I am not the horse. The horse is not me. The horse has its own unique consciousness, its own belief systems, its own desires. It knows the route. It knows where the watering holes are. It knows where other horses that it likes to play with are. And when we are incarnate in the physical human form, we are simply riding in a nature spirit that has its own belief systems, its own blueprints. And what happens is we confuse ourselves with this physical human form. When we die, the body goes back to earth, and we as a soul travel up into our light body or our angel body. And when we are incarnate in the physical human form and we're experiencing enlightenment, it's kind of like the rider is getting this huge download of more advanced programs. And then the journey is to get the body, I call it the body deva, the nature spirit of the physical human form, your horsey, it's not really a horse, it's your physical human form, to start bringing in more evolved behaviors, belief systems, and consciousness for it. So it's one thing to have a highly evolved rider, but it's another thing to have a highly evolved horse/body. And when a soul moves into a more evolved way of being, it can then reflect that consciousness and that information to the physical human form, but we want to invite that physical human form, nature, spirit, body, deva, to start bringing in more advanced ways of being and navigating.
I think that, okay, let me ask you this then, on behalf of all of the listeners who were asking it, because I can hear them asking this, how do we do that? How do we do?
Yeah, there's a formula that I've created that actually works. And for me, if it doesn't work on myself or it doesn't work on the hundreds of clients that I'm working with or the thousands of subscribers, it doesn't work. So what's the point of even speaking the words? And so the formula that I've figured out that does work is very simple. And it goes something like this. You say body deva at the level of its higher self. So it's your body's higher self. Work with the energetic fields. The physical human form has its own unique energetic system separate than yours. And so we're saying to the body deva at the level of its higher self to work with the energetic fields and the guides to energetically locate the more advanced programs, belief systems, consciousness that it has the capacity to evolve into. So we're making a request to a part of the body that actually can do this work. None of our work actually happens in the physical realm. It all happens in the higher realms and then gets reflected down here into this realm. So if I want to change the physical realm, if I want to change my body and its consciousness, its belief systems, its behavior, we need to go to where the blueprints are being held, and that's the body deva's higher self. We as a soul also have a higher self. We also have beings that surround us. I call them our team. They can act as guides, but they're having a group experience with us. Their belief systems affect us. They, too, have a higher self. They have energetic fields, and we want to work all in the higher realms. It's kind of like the floor where the blueprints are being held. Repattern it there. Some part of us, our body knows how to do this, and then reflect those vibrations down to us here. And anytime we do what I call an energetic protocol, which is what my meditations have in them, we always want to update our reference points, all ways in which we perceive, and we simply ask that of the higher self, the body deva's higher self, the team's higher self, to update those reference points of the more advanced system behaviors. So that's how you do it. Simply a request, but the key is to let it go. When you place your order with the waiter, you let go of the waiter's pant legs so that they can take the order back to the kitchen and make it happen.
Yes, absolutely. The letting go is so key, isn't it?
It's huge. It's huge. And I have people, I call them clients of mine, and with all the love in my heart and endearingly, we sort of joke about this, but I call them like protocol junkies, where they're just saying the protocols: higher self, body deva's higher self, team's higher self, work with the energetic fields to locate all vibrations of control that I've placed externally on another person and bring all that control back to me, back to my divine line, same for my body deva and my team. Those are the three energies that affect our reality in the physical realm. And then they just dive right into another protocol instead of holding vigil and awareness and letting go and holding this space for some part of us in the higher realms to do that work. It's not the mind doing it. You're really speaking to the energy self, and then you're letting go. And you wait. You sit like a bump on a log. You just placed your order. You're hanging out at the table. You breathe, and then the shift comes in. It might come in 2 minutes later. It might come in 30 seconds later. It might come in 3 days later. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It will come in.
I love it. I love it. And what you're talking about really leads me to another question about what you offer people. These sessions that you do with people can be done in person, and I'm assuming long distance over the phone. Is that correct?
It is. There's 3 things that I'm currently offering to people. My private practice, where I work one-on-one with people, I'm actually booked out months in advance, and I'm taking the month of 2013 to actually not take on any more clients. So I'm still working one-on-one with people, but that's not like available at this time to people that have not yet worked with me. And
right.
So what I'm really offering individuals is I have 3 things that I do. So it's kind of like, well, would you like this piece, or this piece? And or all of them. It's the daily cups of consciousness. So it's like this little teeny teacup filled with an audio meditation that has sound healing. It's 5 to 7 minutes long, and that comes to the email box 1, 3, or 5 times a week. So you could get it just Monday, you could get it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or you could just get it every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then there's another thing that I do, which is called the Tall Cups of Consciousness, and those are hour-long live and recorded televideo. So you can actually join on the phone, you can join on the internet and see me live in the video streaming. And I speak about what's going on the planet, bringing in energetic protocols, dealing with specific issues, and then you can download the video or the audio MP3 and listen to that, 5 times, 7 times. There are kind of many layers in a 1-hour session, and that's a support system, and that happens every 3 weeks. And then every 3 months, I do what I call a deep dive, and that is a 4-hour in-person, on the internet, and over the phone. So if people want to join me in person, they can, even if they haven't had private sessions with me before. They can join on the internet, or they can join on the phone. And I go through energetic protocols, how to do this work. The next time we're talking about teams and getting your guides on board so that they really are this amazing support system, as well as doing a bit of work with toning, like how to tone and how to use sound to shift your consciousness and manifest intentions, and as well as a few other pieces. And so that's happening like April 13th. But those are the 3 offerings: the daily cups, the tall cups, and the deep dive.
And can people sign up for this by going to your website?
They can. The best place to actually go just to get a free trial sample of the daily cups or the tall cups is cupsofconsciousness.com.
Cupsofconsciousness.com.
Yep, cupsofconsciousness.com. And you can get a free trial week. You can get a free sample of a tall cup. And then after that free week or the free sample, you can decide if you want to sign up for a subscription, and they're like $12 to $15. So I try to make things incredibly affordable. And in truth, if I were to really, say what its full value is, probably the daily cups would be like $250 a month. But I realize that people don't, always have that amount of money, and so I try to create it in a way that's really accessible to everyone. And then after your subscription, if you want to cancel your subscription at any time, you still have access to all of those meditations that came with your subscription when you go into your My Meditation account.
And if somebody wanted to jump right into the 4-hour webinar, how would they get in touch with you to do that?
Well, they could go to the website aleyadao.com, ALEYADAO.com, and check out the deep dive. And I actually have the deep dive. I think it's like $22, and it's a 4-hour video or 3-hour video. And so you can actually see the one that just happened, and we were talking about the body deva and manifesting, how to slow the aging process, how to increase health, how to release body pain, and then the entire formula for how to manifest in the physical realm. And so, again, it's a 3-hour video or just audio file that you can listen to, and people can purchase that and download it now. And then if they want to join for the April 13th one, they can register for the next deep dive that's coming up on aleyadao.com.
Oh, I think this is wonderful. April 13th is the next deep dive. I just think I'm just going to have to go get the most recent one because it sounds so marvelous. And what I have seen is that so many people that I encounter, of course the world is a mirror, but so many people I encounter are right at that point.
Yeah.
They are ready to lift off to 4th dimension, to 5th dimension, wherever they're headed. And the integration of the physical body, between the physical body and the spiritual realm is vitally important to them now. There's a part of them that is soaring, and a part of them that simply has not broken free, has not integrated, has not done whatever it needs to do. So if listeners, if any of you listening now fall in that category, think about going to AleyaDao.com, and that is spelled ALEYADAW.com, and get the deep dive that Aleya has just done, whether on video or audio. And once you experience that, you may be inclined to plunk down another. What did you say it was? $22?
Yeah, for 3 hours of material. And when you're talking about that piece that hasn't fully integrated, I would really say that that's like the body deva, the nature spirit of the physical human form, and to help the body work with a more evolved consciousness. Let's give it some new programs.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
our soul is getting it, so why shouldn't we invite the body to get it? And I think the greatest challenge, too, is that mass consciousness, if we think about the 7 billion people that are on the planet plus, most humans are not consciously working on their spiritual growth and evolution. So our bodies are kind of looking at what the average individual is doing, and not thinking, well, I'm my own unique consciousness and I can bring in my own unique blueprints that have the capacity to support me in holding a higher vibration. The bodies will typically do what other bodies are doing. And so if we look at the majority, other bodies are typically not going, I want to move into a higher vibration and spiritually grow and evolve. It's more the program of, I need to survive. And so when that survival blueprint is being held, the thriving blueprint doesn't really kick in. And our souls are thriving. And so what would happen if we invited the body to start accessing the thriving blueprints?
Oh, it would be incredible.
Easier.
The quantum
Easier.
leap would be incredible. And we'd be ready for the quantum leap.
Well, we would accelerate it would be a more gentle, graceful process because it's happening. We can't really stop it. And the question is, how are we going to experience it? That is the variable. And there's actually been a little bit of research. I don't know if I spoke about this in the show before, but with multiple personality disorders, which I actually think can sometimes be walk-in scenarios where you have multiple people inhabiting one human form. And they did some research where Betty would be multiple personality. I'm just giving the example. Betty's made-up name. And then Joanne comes in to Betty's body, and Joanne doesn't have diabetes and doesn't need glasses. Within 30 seconds or 5 minutes, the biology completely and totally shifts its programming. Fascinating. And so from my perspective, that's actually another soul inhabiting the physical human form, pushing the other soul kind of to the side, and the body then reflects to the soul that's inhabiting the form all of the belief systems and all the vibrations that it needs to experience for its growth and evolution. So if somebody is a walk-in, I'm going to invite you to think about it more from the perspective of what are the issues that you as a soul need to learn, and realize that your body is simply reflecting that back to you, or your body is carrying some of the old blueprints from the previous soul, and we want to invite the body to release those old programs and start running the programs that you as a soul need at this time for your growth and evolution.
I think that is marvelous. When I first learned about walk-ins, I asked a very, very well-known
Are you there? Thanks.
Cool. Aleya, what you're talking about is fascinating to me, because when I first learned about walk-ins, I asked a dear friend of mine whose opinion I respect highly, what is the difference between someone with a personality disorder and a walk-in? And she said someone with a personality disorder is very, very different from a walk-in. And what you are saying now really makes a lot of sense. I understand it better. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that I wrote my book, Move Into the Magic, because the memory, the cell memory, on a physical level, is still there, and it's very important. I think, I'm not a walk-in, I can't speak for walk-ins, but I think it's important to release that original cell memory so that the walk-in can acclimate better and perform his or her mission.
It's critical,
clearly.
Because if you're on a horse that has the belief system of, I need to behave and react like a victim because that was the previous tenant in their belief system, then you get in and you're fully empowered, and you are now riding a horse that has a victim mentality. That's going to be challenging. There's going to be a lot of internal conflict going on. And, the multiple personality disorder, again, I'm not like a psychologist, and so I can't, say in terms of Western terms, but when I see those 3 words and I energetically look at what's going on, that's what I see sometimes happening. And then I've also seen situations where somebody has multiple personality disorder and they do not want to be in the body. And so there will actually be fragmentation that will happen for them as a soul. And so they'll engage in different fragments of their of their being. And then I will also see with the multiple personality different souls coming in, and it's almost like a possession. And so again, I'm not a Western practitioner, but at an energetic level, I'm seeing different soul imprints coming in and affecting that individual. And it varies person to person. But yeah, it is interesting.
Well, let's just focus now on the walk-in experience, which has always intrigued me. And as I said, I am not a walk-in, but I'm fascinated by it. So I have a very strong connection to it. And as you know, my book Earthbound is about a walk-in. And I want to thank you again for all the information that you that you shared with me, because it helped me make the walk-in in my book believable to other walk-ins. Give us an example of some of the challenges that walk-ins experience or can experience.
I think the first component that a walk-in can experience is how they deal with their biological family. And first of all, some people that experience the walk-in phenomenon don't even know they're walk-ins. They just know that something shifted for them, or there was a car accident and they woke up different. And so the family, or they just have, a healing experience and something shifts for them. They might have a higher dimensional merge. They might be a walk-in. Either one, it's a shift in perspective. And so when we have that shift in perspective, we then might react and respond to people differently. And we might feel not as connected to the biological family as perhaps the previous tenant did. And so when somebody doesn't feel connected to their biological family, the biological family is going to experience a sense of rejection. And so I think that's one of the greatest challenges of how do we start navigating this physical plane and all of the relationships that existed. And sometimes the walk-in experience is conscious, sometimes it's not. I heard about one woman who knew that there was going to be another soul coming in, and so she said goodbye to her family. She said goodbye to her children, her husband, her family, and there was like an appointed time when she was to depart and another soul was going to come in. And so they all gathered around her in the ceremony, and lo and behold, she left and someone else came through. Now, most of the time, that is not a conscious experience. And so the way in which we handle it, we want to look at it from a place of grace, and how can you be your ascended master self and deal with these people that held an incredible safe container, or not, for the previous tenant, i.e. for your now body. And so everybody's different in how they're going to handle it because of the history that they got exposed to. And then we also have the spiritual family that we came from. A lot of walk-ins coming from different planets. So people are coming from the Pleiades, Sirius, Andromeda, Neptune, who knows where you're coming from. But you're coming into the physical human form, you're coming onto planet Earth, and you still have a spiritual family on the other side that's probably working 24/7 with you, holding vigil for you, sending information, giving you your little backpacks and your snack time. So it's important to use the support from the spiritual family and be as gracious with your host family as you possibly can be, realizing that the trauma that you experienced with your host family, essentially the biological family, wasn't even your issue. It was the issues that the soul needed, the previous tenant, the soul that was incarnate in the physical human form before you got here. It needed the family to treat it in the way in which it did, to learn those lessons. And then you come in. And so that's like number one, dealing with biological family and remembering that you have your spiritual family.
Well, those two right there. That's a full-time job.
Yeah, it I think it was, who was it? Hannah Beaconsfield. She said that it was like an 11-year process to integrate once you walk in.
Wow.
11 years, yeah. To like be fully operational, assuming you don't, get psychotically medicated, because a lot of times people will walk in and they'll basically just check into a psych ward and be medicated, and then that, kind of slows the integration process and can fragment souls. It's a risky job. It's probably one of the riskiest things you can do in the universe is to walk into a human form on planet Earth at this time with the level of consciousness that we're experiencing. Granted, it's a little safer than it was in the 1800s, but it's risky. And then the other component with a higher dimensional merge, where you're literally incorporating a higher aspect of you, that's about a 6 to 8 year integration process. So this isn't something you just do overnight and one protocol later you're all better.
Well, I would imagine not. Can you in very simple form, those books they have, Computers for Dummies. Can you explain very simply the difference between a walk-in and what were you also talking about? Higher dimensional merge. Yes.
So we as souls are multidimensional beings, and in truth, we are all one. So you could say a walk-in is a higher dimensional merge. It's accessing a higher vibration, a higher consciousness of this soul oneness and embodying it in the form. But on planet Earth at this time, people are perceiving themselves as individual soul lines. So you, Maxine, are a soul line. Me, Aleya, I am a soul line. And the higher dimensional merge would be you, Maxine, soul line, have a higher vibration of yourself expressing itself in a higher realm. So it would be like you on the 7th floor, you on the 12th floor, and you don't have issues with people that are aggressive. You have a reaction of compassion, or you don't like cookies on the 12th floor. It's not an issue for you. And so you're bringing literally yourself on the 12th floor and embodying that consciousness, that vibration on the 3rd floor or the 1st floor. That would be a higher dimensional merge. Where you're
and for our listeners, for whom this is brand new, of course, is it easy to make that merge, or is it something that is difficult? Does it happen quickly? Does it happen slowly? What has been your experience, your observation with these merges?
In general, the higher dimensional merge happens over a 3-year period. And in that 3 years, we start to embody more evolved ways of being and reacting. So it's like you get triggered one time when you go to the gas station and somebody pulls out in front of you, and then the second time you don't get as triggered, and then the third time you get less triggered, and so your triggers start to go away. And it's this, some part of you is consciously working on being a better person, being a more evolved person, embodying more of the ascended master consciousness. If you were an ascended master, if you were Christ or Buddha walking around, how would you react and respond to somebody who cuts you off in line? How would you respond to the barista at the coffee shop who is disrespectful to you if you were Buddha or Christ or Kuan Yin, whatever deity you want to connect with and embody? And not embody them, but if you were reacting in that way. So that higher dimensional merge is some part of you looking at your reactivity, working through the layers, realizing, oh, you know what, I'm responsible for respecting myself. Nobody else is responsible for respecting me. You can use energetic protocols, you can use mantras, you can use positive affirmations, you can use yoga, you can use fasting, whatever technique works for you. And then there will usually be a 3 months, like a 90-day period, where you're getting energetic downloads. Some part of you actually might feel like you're offline. You have no idea what's going on. You might actually be incredibly lethargic and sleeping 10 to 11, 14 hours a day. And that is some part of you energetically starting to basically run a new operating system. And that's that higher dimensional merge that is occurring. Then there can be the enlightenment experience where you literally receive this huge monster download and you still feel like your soul, but really evolved. And that is kind of the instantaneous higher dimensional merge. And in truth, it takes about 5 years to integrate that. So I would actually recommend the nice, slow, gentle process as opposed to I want it overnight, because then it'll take you 5 years to integrate it. So in the short run, it's actually shorter and more efficient to do it slowly, bit by bit, every day. And those daily meditations that I do, they're actually designed to support a higher dimensional merge. I don't really say that. That's the angle.
I can picture our listeners all over the world hanging on every word you're saying because of the type of listeners that we attract, number one. Number two, because I think this planet is in a position right now where even more people are interested in being their best, expressing their highest. And those who are listening now, I know we're thrilled to be hearing this information from you, because you've been doing this for so long. And I don't want to leave the topic, but I would love to ask you a related question, which is, a lot of people are empaths. They have empathic sensitivity. They walk into a room, they feel things, and they're with, let's say they're out with their husband or a friend, and they're feeling something, and the friend or husband doesn't, and the friend or husband says, "You're out of your mind, you're crazy." And the person who feels things empathically, there's no denying it.
You're right. It's so obvious. Mm-hmm.
So obvious, and it's affecting them physically. They're feeling it. There's no question about it. And maybe they've done it their whole lives, and they've been told they're nuts their whole lives. How do you suggest that they deal with this? Because, first of all, they need validation. So please tell them they're not crazy, and then tell them how to deal with it.
If the fastest way to identify if you're feeling empathic is if it came on literally out of thin air. So you go into the grocery store and boom, you get a headache, or you go into the cocktail party and you immediately experience anxiety, or you're driving along and you immediately start having this obsessive thought. That isn't your normal natural state when you're kind of in that Zen Buddha meditation. That's why meditation is so important, because it gives us a reference point for what's going on as our baseline. What is our deep soul truth? And all of us are empathically sensitive. The question is, do we know it? And my guides were actually talking to me this morning, and they were saying that empathic sensitivity is designed for two purposes. One is to move an individual into greater degrees of self-awareness. The other reason is to train that individual to be more compassionate. You are literally walking a mile in another person's shoes. And actually there's the third piece, and that is to break the pattern of codependence, i.e., I am responsible for your happiness. I am responsible for you being in a state of peace. That's codependent. If I am only responsible for me being in a place of peace or calm or happiness, then that means that I'm not taking responsibility for your process. I'm not carrying your chips, your energy, which then means that I am not going to be as empathically sensitive. The moment I take responsibility for another person and their reality in any way, shape, or form, controlling them, making sure they're happy, making sure they're safe, making sure they're loved, making sure they feel validated, I'm going to immediately move into high levels of empathic sensitivity. So we want to be personally responsible for our own reality, no one else's. And when we do that, we decrease the chance of spiritual arrogance, which is a long, dark, 5,000-year road. The other component is to be compassionate for another individual and realize that this is not your stuff, it's theirs. The moment you move into compassion, like true, authentic, heartfelt, deep embodied compassion, that empathic sensitivity goes away. It's like the squeegee for empathic sensitivity. Move into compassion. And then the other piece is self-awareness. Of like, oh, well, do I need to use empathic sensitivity as a mechanism to move into greater degrees of self-awareness? No. What would happen if I used my breath to move into greater degrees of self-awareness? That would work, and it would be far more comfortable. So look at the tools that you're using, why you're using it, and then bring in more evolved tools.
Wow. is, I've heard you mention this a couple of times since we began talking, and it's a word that really resonates with me, and that is to take responsibility, which for me is respond to your humility. It seems to me like, and this is not a judgment, but from where I'm sitting, when you take full and complete responsibility for yourself, for your happiness, for being where you are, for having created this dimension, for having created your scenario, you take judgment, you take blame, and you eliminate them. You are then able to look more objectively at what's going on. And perhaps would that not be part of eliminating the psychic sponge? I call it a psychic sponge. When you're an empath, you're a psychic sponge. You're picking up on everybody around you because you're feeling responsible for the whole world. I mean, we've met people who are martyrs, and man, they take on everybody's pains. Does responsibility come into it?
Yeah, it does. That's brilliant, that which you just spoke. And also, if we think about like the classic martyr, when I think of the classic martyr, I think that person might be a bit judgmental of other people. I haven't really met that many martyrs who are not judgmental or kind of critical of other people. Yes, they'll feel everybody's stuff. They'll take responsibility for everybody, but they've got kind of this judgment angle. And so if the martyr is empathically feeling everybody, that's a pretty hardcore racetrack to master compassion. Now, it's not clear, and it's not clean, and it's not neat, tidy, or efficient. But eventually, after 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years of being in high levels of empathic sensitivity, that person is going to get pummeled, humbled, and they will move into compassion eventually. I personally like to just master compassion by practicing compassion. So the moment I feel the empathic sensitivity, I go, oh my God, that's so intense. I have compassion for that individual. And also, I see that individual as incredibly courageous to create this vibration of discomfort for them to learn their lessons. So whenever we have a discordant energy, anytime there is a challenge happening, anytime there is a pinch, weeny, teeny bit of anxiety, that is an indicator that our souls are wanting to learn something. Every single challenge is an opportunity for growth. And opportunity is the key word. We don't have to take it. Most of us don't. We just feel the discomfort, and we don't milk it for all it's worth, move us to a higher vibration. And so every single time you experience a challenge, even if that's empathic sensitivity, ask yourself the question, what is my soul hell-bent and determined to learn? Then begin to practice that which you're intending to learn. And I created what I call the empathic sensitivity deck, and it's finally, I'm going to say it's finally almost done. I have it I have it on my website.
Finally, almost.
It is available for purchase, and it's not like a full published book, but it's more the PDF of it. And then the deck is totally done, and I send the deck to people for like $12, and you can basically get this empathic sensitivity deck, and you pull it out when you're feeling something empathic, and you say, where's the source of this energy coming from? And the cards will actually tell you where you are feeling stuff. It could be a galactic alignment, it could be something from mass consciousness, from a past partner, from a child, from a parent, from an ancestor, spiritual family. And so there's like 20 different places where it can be coming from, and they're blank cards as well, so you can kind of fill in things like, well, maybe it's coming from, you know, so-and-so. So I haven't thought of all of the places you could be feeling it, but I tried to, you know, come up with a majority and give people tools for clearing this empathic sensitivity. And then the deck, the booklet that comes with the deck, will walk you through the steps of how to clear that empathic sensitivity.
And how can people order that almost complete? Almost finished.
Almost finished. They can go to aleyadao.com, ALEYADAO.com, and I'll put it on my storefront page. I'm still kind of tweaking the shopping cart to make it even more manageable, but I'll put it on the storefront in the next day or so, and people can check it out.
Oh, that would be wonderful, because you know that people are going to want that. Now that we're talking about it, especially. Let me pick up where I left off. Well, Aleya, it sounds to me like you probably are going to have to get those cards finished soon, and because you're putting them up on your website, and this show is going to be archived all over the world forever and ever and ever. So you might just as well go ahead and get the deck ready, right
It's
now.
ready. It's ready. It's good. It'll be finished this week, so that's good.
Oh, good. I think it's an awesome, a wonderful opportunity for people to access their higher self. I mean, every tool that we use is helpful to us. There was something else I was going to ask you, and this is changing subjects, but since you are such a master at sound healing, I was wondering if you would share with us some of your beautiful toning, something that would lift us all up, all of our listeners, so that they can access either their body deva or whatever it is that they need to balance themselves out. Would you do something like that for us?
Let me share a little snippet of my most recently published, commercially released Angelic Healing CD with you now.
Wonderful.
So then you guys could plug that in, and I'll give you an audio file.
Oh, that is awesome. That will be great. How long is it, Aleya?
Like, we could do 3 minutes, we could do 4 minutes, whatever you want. You just tell me, and I'll create.
Do 4 minutes,
okay.
And then we'll talk for another couple of minutes, and then we'll.
Was it okay that I did that? I just think that the audio quality will be a lot better if we give them like a 4-minute snippet of like Aquarian Embrace or something.
That would be fabulous. And send that to Ken, and that's Ken at co-creatornetwork.com.
Great.
Okay, so let me just
regroup.
Regroup here. Gosh, this has just been incredible. Our listeners are going to love this. Oh,
good.
My God. Okay, so let me ask you. Okay, I've asked you about the sound healing, and when I listen to it, I'm going to leave my body and I'll be gone anyway.
Exactly.
It always happens.
Yeah.
So I will thank you right now and ask you if you have any last thoughts you'd like to share about what's happening now. So, Aleya, that was magnificent, and it's magnificent having you on Move Into the Magic. Before we say goodbye, and this is only a temporary goodbye, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners that will inspire them, help them? Anything that comes to you right now that will help us in our personal journeys?
I think one of the most important components to realize is that somewhere deep inside you, I call it the divine line. It's this river of light that's in the body that actually flows on the front of the spine. That is where we want to ride. That's where we want to hold our awareness. And when we bring our awareness into that inner river of light, that divine line, we move into a perception of connection. Somewhere inside that place, we are safe, we are perfect, and we are whole. That's a major component to kind of keep in mind all the time. And the more we bring our awareness to that place, the more gentle life becomes. The other component that I'd love to leave people with is to realize that we are multi-dimensional beings. We are expressing ourselves in the physical realm, but we're also expressing ourselves in other realms. And we actually want to start using these other realms, this multi-dimensional reality, to start creating what we intend in the physical realm. Let yourself be in your fantasy, dream, higher dimensional realm, floor world, creating the reality that you are intending for yourself, having your guides surrounding you, support, health, balance, vitality, abundance, whatever it is. Let your energetic self create that reality there. and then invite that reality and that higher dimension of what you intend to reflect down here into this realm. And your life will begin to shift, grow, and evolve. And I invite people to sign up for a free trial week of the Daily Cups of Consciousness if you want a higher dimensional merge within the next 2 to 3 years.
Oh, Aleya, how beautiful. How
Thank
generous
you.
of you. And how angelic. As always, visiting with you is so inspirational, so uplifting. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Please come back anytime you would like. And thank you, thank you, thank you on behalf of all of our listeners all over the world. And listeners, I invite you to join me next week when once again we move into the magic. And until then, keep in mind